So what we're going to do today actually is we're gonna dabble in hand painted chocolate. So Jennifer, if you want to just turn the camera to these chocolates so they kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So I don't know if you guys can see these, but you see how all those are hand painted? Yeah. So this is one of our award winners up here. This is our s'mores chocolate. And so we're going to go through the process of what it takes to make these beautiful, shiny gems. Is there a way, Jen, for you to reverse it?
Well, I'm trying to make it.
Let's see if you can real quick. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
There we go.
You got it?
Okay.
Okay, so real quick, all the paints that we use are considered chocolate paints, which is why this whole process works. It's cocoa butter fat that has a little bit of food coloring in it. Now, the really unique thing about chocolate is chocolate tends to adhere to chocolate. So because that paint is made out of cocoa butter, whenever it's dried onto let's say a chocolate mold, and then you pour some chocolate over it, once that chocolate that you pour over it dries and sets, that paint, because it's made out of cocoa butter, will adhere to the chocolate. And the reason why it'll have a shiny finish is because we're using ultra polished chocolate molds, plastic molds that are naturally have a shine to it, which is why our chocolates have a shine to it. So chocolate will not only adhere to other chocolate, but whatever it tends to dry on, if it has a shiny finish, the chocolate will have a shiny finish. If it has a matte, have a matte finish. So I'm gonna grab my little paint right here. We're gonna keep it simple just for the demo. When we do these classes in shop, which we haven't done in a while because of COVID, we usually do several different colors and a few different techniques. But you know, I'm using a regular brush here. This is the cocoa butter paint I was talking about. And with all chocolate products, I don't know how familiar you guys are with it, or if they talked about it in that history video. But chocolate, before you work with it, it has to be crystallized or tempered properly. And what that means is, if it's solidified, it needs to be melted down so that you can be able to use it. And once you melt it down, it has to be properly cooled by aggravation. It needs to be constantly moving around as it's cooling. And that's what gets it to a state where when it does dry, it'll dry nicely. So I already did that with this paint. This paint is already tempered. That's the terminology in chocolate. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to kind of keep it simple. Jen, if you want to come on this side, it might be easier. So this is always the first step. Now I went ahead and cleaned each one of these molds, because when you clean anything with water, it can leave water stains. So what I do is I polish each one with a little bit of alcohol and a cotton swab. And then I use another cotton swab to kind of dry it and make sure it's dry. So just to ensure that we get a nice shiny finish at the end. And then I take my paintbrush and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to swirl in this paint into each cavity. Now, I don't want to overpaint into each cavity. I want to keep it kind of simple. And what you'll notice is, as I get, we're gonna do about half of these. We're not gonna do the whole mold. Now
you can use more than one color, right?
Yeah, you can use more than one color. This also is not the only technique. So we do have an airbrush gun in the back of this facility, and we can air spray these colors as well, so you get a nice finish. You can also do like splatter designs. I mean, the possibilities are really endless. I'm just kind of keeping it simple for now, so you guys get an idea of what the process looks like. I'll do one more real quick. Now, what you'll start to notice is with the first ones I did, they're starting to dry. And they're drying, and this is how I know that I tempered this paint properly. Now, if this paint took 20 minutes to dry, then I know that my finished product is not gonna be nice. It's an easy way to just know off the bat if I messed up. Now, luckily, I went ahead before this class and already painted a mold. So now that this mold is painted, this paint is dry. It's been sitting, I like to let this sit for a while so it properly crystallizes, which we've done. And now we're gonna go make our chocolate shells. So the way we do that here is we have a chocolate machine. Jen, if you want to give them a nice little tour of the inside. And so this chocolate is constantly at the right temperature and it's ready to be used. which is fantastic. Makes my life a lot easier. This was my first sous chef before I hired my first sous chef about a year ago today. So now we're going to make our shells. So what that means is I'm going to pour chocolate into each mold, into each cavity, sorry. This is how I start. I'm going to flip this. I'm going to tap the sides to ensure chocolate is getting into each cavity. So you can see it's fully coated. I'm going to take my scraper, scrape off the top. And then the next step is to get rid of any air bubbles. If I don't have a vibrating table, I would just kind of tap the sides like this. But since we do, I'm going to do this. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, but there are air bubbles coming to the top of this mold. And that's what we want, because kind of explain why. But as we see these start to pop, I'm going to lift this up, tap the side one more time for good measure. And then we're going to flip this over. And now what this is doing is that vibrating thing is extracting as much chocolate as possible out of each cavity. And it's going to leave a nice thin shell for us, which is all we want right now. So we want to pipe a nice soft filling inside. So this is about done. I'm going to lift this up, get it nice and clean now. It's always important to get as much chocolate off the surface of the mold. It makes it easier for when we're doing the rest of the stuff. We're sealing our chocolate double. So you can see how thin these shells are. You know, we're just trying to make a capsule for whatever filling we're putting inside. So we don't want this shell to take over flavor-wise. So the next step is to let this sit standing up. And what will happen is it'll take about 5 minutes for it to dry. And then I'll pop it in the fridge normally, because what happens is when chocolate dries and gets back to room temp, it shrinks a little bit. And when it shrinks a little bit, it's that detraction that helps you take the chocolate out of each cavity. So I already went ahead and did that with that other mold that I had painted previously. And you can see that now our chocolates are painted. See how that paint stuck to the mold?
Show them how it's hollow.
And you can see how each cavity is hollow. So now we can pipe a beautiful filling inside, which is great, which is what the next step would normally be. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. We're not going to pipe a filling today, but I'll show you what it looks like when we have a filling inside. So this is a filling that I made yesterday. It's actually a bourbon filling that I made. And I filled it yesterday, and I like to let it sit overnight so that it, because what happens with a water-based filling is that over time, within 8 to 10 hours, it'll shrink just a little bit. So if I try to seal this right after I fill it, it'll kind of ruin the chocolate that I'm making. So now that this has set overnight, we're ready to do our nice seal on these. So generally before I do a seal, I take this little heat gun and I'm just gonna heat this mold just a little bit. I'm just trying to get that chocolate shell a little wet so that when we seal these, it'll have a proper, nice, solid chocolate seal on it. So you can see, kind of made everything a little shiny. That's perfect. We don't want to go too much, then it's going to completely ruin all the work that I did. So go back to this machine, get a little bit of chocolate on top, take my little scraper. Perfect. So you can see now we have our nice seal on the bottom of these bad boys. And then what we do is we usually wait about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for this to set. Luckily, I went ahead and did that already with another mold. So now you can see this is a dry version of that. Now these are ready to be popped out of the shell so that we can put it on our beautiful display. Let me just move these real quick. Just gonna loosen this up a little bit.
It's loud.
This is going to be a little loud, but it's okay. Now you can see this is the finished product. This is a different chocolate that I did, obviously, but now they're ready to eat. And that's kind of what the process goes through. Now, typically, all those steps that I just mentioned, we do in a 5-day process. So the first day, we spend cleaning all the molds. Second day is painting day, where we do all of our painting designs. We let that paint crystallize overnight. It's always the best result. The following day is when we make our shells, and we pipe as many fillings as we can. And then the final day, we end up doing the last seal, popping them out, putting them on the shelves, and getting ready to fill boxes. And that's kind of the short story. We do everything that I just went through. We actually normally do this workshop, and it's a lot of fun. It's BYOD. It's about 2 hours. You get to paint with 3 different colors, and we go through the entire process of the piping and filling, and kind of go through all those steps with you guys. But I'd like to open the floor to some questions that people may have. I know I kind of went through things a little quick, but if there's anything throughout the process you had a question about, or why something is done the way it is, or something about the company or me, more than happy to help answer those questions.
About how many do you make a week?
So it just depends on the time of year. In the winter time, when it's crazy, when November hits, it's in the thousands. This time of year, especially with COVID, it's made it really tough. So it could be, anywhere between a few hundred to 1,000. It just kind of depends what we're doing.
How long have you been making chocolates, and is there an apprenticeship period in chocolate making?
So yes, generally there is. I did an apprenticeship in New York, so in that period of about 2 weeks. But when I brought some,
Jess, how long have you been doing it?
oh, how long have I been doing it? It's been 5 years now, a little over 5 years. I started in 2004, in the summer of 2014, so I guess 6 years.
Do you make dark chocolate as well as milk chocolate?
Do you make dark chocolate as well as milk chocolate?
Yeah. And so if you want to, you can show them these real quick up here. So this is actually a really dark 70% chocolate. So this is the kind of chocolate that we buy in bulk that we end up melting down or using for fillings. Now we use anywhere from, so we use single origin chocolate for all of the fillings that we do. So for my favorite dark chocolate, my favorite single origin chocolate is Peruvian chocolate. So I use a 63% Peruvian chocolate for that. But yeah, a lot of the chocolates will have a blend of dark and milk or milk and white. There's a lot going on. So you have like a peanut butter and jelly chocolate that's going to have a house-made jam that we make here. And then it's going to have a peanut butter and milk chocolate filling on the bottom with a popped quinoa crunch. So it just depends what the application is, but yes.
Does the free trade movement have anything to do with how you choose your chocolate?
Of course, yeah. So I work with a company called Valrhona, and I work with them for various reasons, but one of the reasons why is because of the relationship that they build with the farmers that they source all of their cocoa from. And I think it's really important to know where your product comes from. One of the big things that I've been wanting to do, I really wanted to do this summer, was go to a plantation and kind of see the whole process, go to a small farm. And that's something that companies like Valrhona or Cocoa Berry, or a lot of these beautiful big chocolate companies that work with these farmers give you the opportunity to go, and they'll sponsor you a trip. And I just haven't had the ability to do that yet, but I'd love to.
So
Go ahead.
Thanks. What are your best sellers?
So it's our best sellers. It kind of depends. Any sweet shop is going to have salted caramel as a top seller. So definitely the salted caramel hearts that I showed you guys are very, very popular. And then second and third are the caramelized goat cheese chocolate and our s'mores chocolate. Those, out of the flavored stuff, out of the bonbons that we make, those are definitely up there. But then again, it just depends on Yeah, on the palate profile and what people like. So everything moves pretty steadily. So it just depends. Like our rosemary and olive oil one is people that, you know, are foodies go crazy for that one, and it's so unique.
I saw that there was one reject that you pulled out of there. I'm wondering how many, or usually how many rejects usually are there in a pallet, and what do you do with all the rejects?
Yeah, so funny enough, this was actually, it was a rejection before I even piped the filling, and I hand painted this batch, and one of the shells just wasn't to my liking.
Oh.
And since it's about such a small piece of chocolate, I can just throw it back in the melter, you know? So I kind of went through them. I didn't like that one, so I put it aside. But generally,
Or I eat them.
or generally eat them. It just kind of depends. But generally in a batch, this depends on the batch size. If it's a 500 to 1,000 batch size, you're going to have at least like 3 or 4 that may have a crack, or that, you know, as you're doing this part where you're like deshelling them, maybe, you know, your hand slips and one of them kind of falls on the floor or something. So I'd say about 3 or 4 on a big batch. On smaller batches, it's very, I mean, it's pretty rare. I would say early on, it would happen a lot more. Now, what I do with them is we eat them. You know, we either eat them or, you know, or we'll give them away as samples.
How come you're not fat?
Because I run way too much, but I fluctuate though. When I first started, I put on like 20 pounds, and it took me until last year to be like, you know, I need to make a change. So I started running a lot. We live right by Memorial Park, so that was just like a thing that happened, which I'm grateful for. But it took some time.
I would do that. I would do that to eat a lot of chocolate.
But also, so that's another thing that I was saying earlier when I was saying, I don't know if everyone was here, but, you know, when people come in, I like to tell them that it isn't a candy shop, it's a chocolate shop. And what I mean by that is, you know, we're not selling a product that is just piped with sugar to the point where it's that, you know, kind of addiction where you can't stop eating it, and you need to eat like 10 of them to get your fix. We're using a really high quality chocolate, and yeah, there is sugar in our product, but it's not the main ingredient. The main ingredient is chocolate, and that's the difference. So because it's so decadent, it's not easy to eat a handful of these in one sitting. You know, you take a box of these home, you're gonna have 1 or 2, you're gonna feel satisfied, and that's what the difference is compared to like a Snickers bar or M&Ms, where you need to eat like hundreds of them to just feel satisfied.
You use fruit in your chocolate for fillings?
Yeah, I use purees, and sometimes we'll make them in-house. There's also a great French company, I think it's Boiron. I can never, my French pronunciations aren't great, but they make a great purees across the board. So sometimes if we have leftover fruits that might be starting to go bad, I'll just go ahead and make a puree out of it. But yeah, I mean, it's all fruit purees for all that kind of stuff. And if we're using jam for something, we're going to make a house-made jam for that as well. You know, vanilla also, we don't use vanilla extract for any of the stuff here. I make toffee in-house, and we don't use vanilla extract for that as well. It's all, if we use vanilla, we're using real vanilla beans. My favorite comes from Tahitian. I love Tahitian vanilla beans. Those are my absolute favorite.
So I've heard that if you eat dark chocolate, you need less of it to satisfy that chocolate craving than you do with milk chocolate. And I would assume that's because it's a higher percentage of chocolate in it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, milk chocolate's going to have, because, you know, milk chocolate is not going to have as high of a percentage because you have that milk powder in there. And milk chocolates are always going to be are always going to be sweeter, so there's more sugar in those products. So, you know, when you look at a dark chocolate bar, the main ingredient is going to be cocoa mass. That isn't always the case with milk chocolate, you know. A lot of the times sugar is going to be the main ingredient, and that's what the difference is. So it goes back to like that candy factor, right? If you're eating things high in sugar and very little bit of the high quality stuff, then you need to eat more of it to get that craving done with. Whereas if you're eating something that has a high content of it, you don't need that much.
Dark chocolate's better for your health also.
Yeah, you have the antioxidants that come from the cocoa nut. Yeah, exactly. And you can still get that from the milk, but you'd have to eat a lot more milk chocolate to get it. So at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out, right? So if you have to eat more, then it's not healthy for you. So
Do you also make sugar-free?
So we don't do sugar-free currently. I have a protein bar that I started making that's really, really nice. And I'm about to start using sugar-free chocolate for it, just to bring the sugar content down. But I haven't messed around with it too much. But we do have things like our orange peels have a very, well, I guess the orange peel has a lot of sugar in it. Yeah, we don't do anything with sugar-free just yet. That doesn't mean we won't. We're just not there yet. Yeah.
Do you use any liqueur in your chocolate?
Most definitely, yes. My favorite for chocolate, I generally like to use cognac. A little bit of cognac to finish. We put a little bit of cognac, for example, in the dark chocolate. Not even, I mean, just a minimal amount. It just adds a little bit of fruitiness at the end that I really like. Some of the fruit purees will have a little bit of cognac in it. And then we also have, liquor flavored chocolates like the bourbon one I was just showing you guys. We have a tequila one, which is great. So yeah, definitely. Wherever if there's a purpose for it, we'll definitely use it for sure. Anyone else? I can't hear anyone. I think everyone's muted.
Yes, sorry. Any other questions for Dany?
I'll ask one more. So I noticed on this call, it was almost all women, if not all women. And I'm wondering what the demographics are that come into your store. Is it mostly women?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But it's funny because on my side of things, like on chocolate making side, that's not always the case. I see a lot of male chocolatiers that just love chocolate. It's interesting because you would think so, but there's a lot of people just like me that just love making chocolate. And my mentor was a Swedish guy in New York. Unfortunately, their shops are not open anymore, but they kind of instilled that passion in me. My mom started this company making chocolate as a hobby, got into catering. We moved into this location the year I did that apprenticeship, and I didn't even know I was going to be working in a kitchen. Like, I didn't know that this was going to be that I was going to be passionate about this until I went to New York, and the passion that they had was it just went right through. I immediately just clinged to it. I loved it.
Where are you located again? Where's your store?
We're located off North Post Oak and I-10, right by the Audi School.
Okay, I know where that is.
Yeah, not too far from the synagogue.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it on the same side of the freeway as the Audi store?
Yeah, we're on the north side. Yeah, we're on the north side. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And North Post Oak and I-10.
Yeah.
Right.
I can send everyone tomorrow, the address and kind of, a link to their website. Or Dany, if you have any, menu or something like that you want me to send off, I can certainly do that as well.
Yeah, I'll see. I think I'll reach out to my graphic design girl. She'll probably send over some stuff to you via email if you want to.
Okay, awesome.
Just forward it. Yeah.
And I will say also on the bingo side, so this is the second straight week in which chocolate shops are prize option. And so if you're lucky enough to win tonight and you want to go with a chocolate shop and you want to, check out Dany and more about what he has there, you can select mostly chocolate and we'll get you a gift card. Definitely last week, the chocolate bar was the big winner, but it doesn't need to be that way all the time. So you can, check Dany out and try more of his chocolate firsthand, only if you share it with me. So
yeah.
Okay.
And if y'all come to the shop, clearly we'll give you all some samples that you try our stuff. Always. I mean, that's just something that we do. But yeah, and I'd love for y'all to try our product. It's very different from some of the other chocolate shops that you see here. So I'd love for y'all to come by.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've tried it and I can vouch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do
I
it.
won't be able to
Thank
sample
you.
right now. I can't, obviously.
I wondered, I think I got kicked off, or my internet kicked me off earlier, but I wondered if you, how often you make new flavors.
So it just depends. When I first started, it was pretty frequent because I had to build my menu. Now, this year has been a transition year. I brought in my first sous chef. I became more of a managerial role in that sense. So I was a bit more distracted. But then when things like COVID happen, and you have a little bit more time in the kitchen, that's where that brain starts working again. So it just kind of depends on how inspired I am, the time of year, and what's going on. So it just depends. It really just depends. And sometimes I'm just working on different products. Like we started making a graham cracker toffee bar during COVID. Just graham cracker toffee. That is just unbelievable. So it just depends. But whenever I think of something, if I have something pops in my head, I'll write a note down or have a list of flavors. And if I get a chance, I'll just go ahead and do it. See what happens.
They're great. They're really good and unique. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited to come to your shop.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're excited to have you here.
Yeah, we'd like to come check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
One thing I've learned today is chocolate brings people together. This is the first time we've done this pre-bingo thing, and the turnout's been great. So that's awesome. We might have to have you every other Tuesday. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll see what you come
field
up with
trip.
things.
Yeah, we have some fun machines here too. So there's always like a new little demo we can do. Yeah, for sure. Definitely do more of this. I should start a YouTube channel.
Chocolates make really good gifts.
They do. That's the busiest time of year for us. Yeah, November, December, Valentine's.
Their birthdays all year round.
Yeah.
You need to remember that.
That's one of the things we specialize. We specialize in corporate gifting too. All the packaging that we kind of envisioned and started making was made so that we can easily customize it for companies or for people that want to put a message on it and that kind of thing. So it's all integrated in there. Put a lot of thought into the packaging and stuff.
Dark chocolate's actually healthy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do you do delivery too?
So we do delivery in Houston. We ship nationwide. Obviously, we're not shipping right now in the summer because it's too hot. And then we do curbside pickup as well for anyone that doesn't want to come inside right now and all that stuff. And usually before COVID, when you come in, we just kind of give you a tour of the chocolate room and everything. We're a little bit more limited now when people come in, unfortunately. But once everything gets back to normal, that'll reopen up again because it is a lot of fun to do that. And then the workshops are really great. And what's nice is you get to make your own chocolate. You get to take home chocolate that you made yourself as well as a collection of ours. And those, even for corporate events, are great, but also just for a few people that want to hang out and make some chocolate on the weekend. It's a lot of fun.
How many people could you accommodate on a tour?
So the minimum is 5 for private ones, and we've done up to 30 people. And then, and those, the bigger the class, it'll take longer than 2 hours. It's usually closer to 3 hours. And then we do monthly, like just public workshops, and we cap those at, I think, 12 people. So we can ensure it's 2 hours. That's it.
Well, I had a sample right now.
They all need to swing by and sample some stuff.
For sure.
I've been there once and got to sample some stuff, so it was it's pretty.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Anytime.
Very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.